So now that the hype has died down, the software updates have rolled out, and the honeymoon phase is long gone. Is this thing still worth it, or is it just an expensive flex? Well, let's go ahead and talk about it because it's kind of interesting. And by the way, if you're new here and you like no BS tech videos, I always just say it how it is, then hey, feel free to subscribe. So let's go ahead and get the obvious out of the way. Yeah, even now in 2025, foldables are not really a new thing. In fact, the original Samsung Fold came out in like 2015, I think, 16, 17, 18. This thing still turns heads. Anytime I go out in public and I open it, I always see through my peripheral vision that someone is just like looking at me like, what is that? But beyond the wow factor, I'm more impressed, honestly, of the build quality. No scratches on the outer display, no visible crease wear. The hinge, it still feels solid. That's a huge improvement over the Fold 3 days where I literally babied the thing as if it was made out of glass. Well, mostly because it kind of is. In fact, this thing is so durable, it completely breaks the mentality that folding phones are very fragile. I mean, they are more fragile than non-folding phones, but for a folding phone, this thing is impressive. I dropped it without a case. You could only understand how I almost had a heart attack, right? Everyone shake your heads yes, because, and check this out. I don't know why I said because, but check this out. That's the only damage. It's not even coming up through the camera. It's like right there. It's a little scratch, a little ding. And I dropped it not on a tile floor that's nice and smooth. I dropped it outside in the concrete. And that's the only damage. That's impressive. Now let's talk about usage, because this is where folding phones either click or fall apart. I'm not gonna lie, I thought I would be watching movies, multitasking with split screen apps, and even editing videos on the big display 24/7, but in reality, about 70% of the time, I'm using the outer display. The other 30% is where I sit down, unfold it, and actually, get into tablet mode. Is that a bad thing? Not really, but it is something to keep in mind. If you think you're going to be replacing your iPad or your tablet or your computer with it, you're not. You're mostly going to be using this thing when it's closed, using the outer display whenever you're out and about, just because it's a heck of a lot easier to hold it in one hand and not feel like it's going to tip over. Speaking of the outside display, it's actually usable more than I would have expected it to be, but it's still not for everyone. Typing still feels narrow and you will misclick sometimes, but honestly, Samsung's done a pretty good job of making it feel less claustrophobic now that they've made it a bit wider, as well as making it look less like a fold due to the hinge shrinking from way earlier models. Now let's go ahead and talk about the pricing. Yeah, it's an expensive phone, $1,900, but it's Samsung, and you know where I'm going with this, right? If you know Samsung like I do, you know. They're offering up to $1,000 of trade-in credit, so if you have an older phone, you could potentially get up to $1,000 off of this phone, which brings the price down to $900. Now, I don't know about you, but $900 is a heck of a lot less than $1,900. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Now, if you guys are interested, I have a link down below. I'm not sure how long that deal is gonna last, so yeah. Samsung's actually made meaningful improvements through software updates like the newly released One UI 7, which brings over even more AI features to this phone. You get things like Writing Assistant that checks for grammar, the writing style, tone adjustments, summarizations, and more. You also get AI Select, AI Audio Eraser, which is incredible, call transcript, and now even a deeper integration with Google Gemini. If you like that split screen design of the notification and quick settings menu like the S25 series has, well, it's here now as well. You also get photo ambient wallpaper, so the weather outside can actually show up on the wallpaper itself. And of course, the Now bar, which first debuted alongside the S25 series. One UI 7 has been running flawlessly on the Z Fold 6, and if there's one thing Samsung is good at, it is definitely going to be in that software department. Hardware-wise, there are better folding phones out there, for example, like the Oppo Find N5. In fact, it is the thinnest book-style folding phone in the world. Yes, it charges faster. Yes, its cameras are better, but when it comes to software, man, you really cannot beat out Samsung. It's just impossible. And considering how software is like the only thing you interact with when you touch the phone, for most people out there, that's the most important thing. Battery life is fine. You're not going to get the same endurance as something like the Galaxy S25 Ultra. This is like a beast in its own level. However, if I use my phone conservatively, moderately, I can make it last throughout the entire day, which is pretty good. However, charging, it's still slow. Samsung, come on, it's 2025. Give us 80 watts of charging, please. This is kind of borderline crazy at this point because, you know, again, we have phones like the Oppo. This folding phone charges at 80 watts, 0 to 100 in around 45 to 50 minutes. This phone, 25 watts, you know, from 0 to 100 around an hour and a half. It's fine, but I just want more, as you should too, you know, for the price of this phone. So if there's one thing I would like to see fixed on this phone in future models, it's definitely battery life and faster charging. I expected the Fold 6 cameras to be good, but not amazing, and I was mostly right. But here's the thing, they're okay. The colors, detail in even low light has improved with updates. It's still not flagship level like the Ultra line, but definitely solid. I think for the average person out there, the cameras are going to feel great, especially for a folding phone that's sold here in the US. But I do think the Pixel 9 Pro Fold is ever so slightly better. Now, fortunately for Samsung, that's the only benefit the Pixel has over the Z Fold 6. Now let's talk about the crease. It's there, no getting around that, but I've stopped noticing it in daily use, and more importantly, it has not gotten worse. The inner display still feels premium, looks great, and I've had no issues with dust or particles causing damage. I'd say the only downside of the inside display is that it's not anti-reflective like, again, the Oppo for example. Which is a bit odd considering that the S25 Ultra and even the S24 Ultra does have an anti-reflective display, so hey, Samsung, move it up to your other models. So do I still recommend the Galaxy Z Fold 6 even halfway or almost halfway through its life cycle? Absolutely. If you're going to be using this phone the way it's meant to be used, you're going to have a tough time finding a better phone. And again, that's because of the software. Hardware-wise, it's not the best. Software-wise, it is the best. Also, not to mention, you have 7 years of operating system updates, whereas other companies, for example, I go back to, the Oppo, this only has 4 years of OS updates. 7? 4. So this one will get newer features for much longer than something like this phone, even though this phone has better hardware. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. Do you want better hardware but maybe not use it for a longer period of time? Or do you want to use your phone for a long period of time, get pretty good hardware, but just not the best hardware? Now, if you've been using a Z Fold 6, let me know your experience down below. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Were you expecting something better? Or maybe it even surpassed what you thought about the phone? I'm kind of curious. Drop me your comments down below. If you guys found this video to be useful, entertaining, whatever it is, definitely click that like button. It's free for you, but it helps me and the channel out a lot, and I always truly appreciate it. And like I said, if you like no BS tech videos, definitely subscribe. As always, this was Mark from Mark's Tech. Adios.